Hey you guys, I hope this video finds you doing very well this afternoon, this evening I guess you could say. So it's been a minute since I've done an after my run video, and number one, oh my gosh, I've got to show you guys this. Do you see that? I don't know if you can get the full effect of how distracted I can get with the sky. You guys know I love the sky. Sorry, okay, beautiful. I just shared Arkansas skies with you. Okay, so typically when I run, and then there's like all this stuff that like hits my head, it's usually just about like everyday situations and how we can apply pushing yourself and how you can apply determination and listening to your spirit, your body. Today during my run, all I could think about, well, for the first part of it, I had to think about just how stinking sore my legs were, because it's been a minute since I've ran out here at this park that I run at, up and down hills, on trails. I've got about 4.85 miles or so done. It's been a minute since I've gotten that far. The heat has just been so horrific. That's an excuse, by the way. Okay, so I'm rambling. Okay, so here we go. All I could think about was this encounter that I had with this little boy today, and how it completely, come on now mosquitoes, work with me, how it completely reminded me of what love and compassion and patience and kindness can do in the lives of everyone around us. This particular little boy had different abilities. Without going into detail, there were some things, some situations that made his existence a little different on this earth while he was growing in utero inside his mom. Okay, so now here he is on this earth, and he's all over the place. I mean, he's running and jumping and screaming and can't stop moving, and I mean, he's just all over the place, kind of like what I am tonight with these mosquitoes, which are giving me a little bit of what for. I was immediately drawn to him. You know, there's been, oh gosh, I keep getting distracted. Will y'all look at that? It's so simple. Just a single duck. Hello. Hello, Mr. Duck. Okay, here we go. I have kind of gotten a little bit distracted by some situations that have happened in my life lately. And not distracted like I don't notice people, but distracted that I kind of forgot who I was. I forgot just how powerful kindness and mercy inside of me really is. And so I was drawn to this boy, and I went and I sat down next to him, and it was okay with his family, by the way. I didn't just like randomly like try to go talk to people's children. I know that can kind of freak people out nowadays. Didn't used to whenever I was growing up. It was just kind of the norm, but nowadays it's an issue. I went and sat down beside this little boy, and immediately there was this separation. Like you could tell he was kind of hesitant, probably because his mom had taught him about stranger danger. But when he saw that his family member was okay with us conversating, he kind of let his defenses down just a little bit, not a lot. And as I began to kind of play a little game with him, I was just trying to, honestly, I was just trying to help him to relax and to be at peace. Goodness gracious. And to be at peace with himself, even in the midst of his different abilities. I guess I just saw something in him. The mercy in me like spoke to the heart in him, and I wanted to go and get it and pull it out. And so as I began to play this little game with him, he slowly but surely began to loosen up. And as he looked up at me, he had these big, beautiful eyes, and there was just this connection that happened. And I could see the moment when he realized that I cared. Like, he didn't really understand why. I don't think he had to. He could just understand that I cared. And the more he understood that I cared, the more relaxed he got, the calmer he got. And by the end of our interaction, this little boy who was like sitting like this and like looking at my paper like that was like leaning on my leg like we were family. And we are, by the way, because we are all one. And when the experience was over, I found myself overwhelmed with emotion. Number one, because I remembered who I was, and it wasn't complicated to do that. It was a simple moment that I could share what was inside of me with what was inside of him, despite his different abilities. Okay, so this brings me to my point. Every person on the face of this planet has different abilities in some way or another. Sure, the person who has to ride in a wheelchair, or who has to walk with crutches, or who doesn't have an arm, or can't see, or can't hear, their different abilities are very obvious. They're very clear to us. But the truth of the matter is, I would say, all of humanity is walking around with a slight mental different ability. And we find ourselves having all this judgment like somehow their different ability is different than our different ability, and so therefore we're in a better place or a higher standard. But the truth of the matter is we really are all the same. Every single one of us is seeking love, acceptance. We're seeking touch. That little boy, just that simple leaning on my leg, I felt his whole everything just step into peace. It was so clear and so obvious. His voice softened up. Everything about him shifted into rest. We desire touch. We desire someone to look us straight in our eyes. When I looked at his eyes, there was this deep connection that I can't imagine having finished this day and missed out on that moment. And it took maybe at the max 10 minutes. And this little boy like changed my life. I am changed by a 7-year-old. And I am reminded who I am by a 7-year-old who the world would look at and say, he's not going to become anything. He can't. He didn't enter this earth with enough ability. I can tell you, the 7-year-old changed my life today. We find ourselves looking and comparing ourselves at how different that we are, when really we are all the same. And there is a 7-year-old that is in your life. Okay, they may not be 7. They might be 77. There is a 17-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 55-year-old or heck, 25 15-year-olds that are absolutely 100% depending on you to be okay with their different abilities. For you to offer that moment of mercy and peace, not because they ask for it, not because it's your job, not because they demand it, or not because it's an excuse of something to do, but because you feel it deep inside your heart. I can tell you what will make that moment more successful and will actually cause you to gravitate toward it is whenever you let down your guard and you go ahead and accept the fact that our different abilities are really not that different. Today, who is it in your life that could use an extra dose of mercy and compassion? And are you willing to take a moment to share it? I encourage you to do so. You are so needed and wanted on this earth. Go get 'em, Tiger. Love you. Word.